Welcome to Brewers Daily, your daily stop for everything Milwaukee Brewers, our favorite team, as we go through the offseason. Lots coming up. Very busy week here. So very excited to bring you the shows every single day this week. Be sure to subscribe to Brewers Daily on YouTube, and you can get notifications for every single time that we drop a brand new episode. Lots to get to today. Got some 40-man roster deadlines and decisions to be made today. So we're going to get some news coming out on this Brewers roster here. And also what the Brewers could be doing in free agency, because there's a report out on one of the Brewers' areas of need that they have interest in this offseason. And that's where we're going to start. That's what I really want to get into here for the meat of the show, because catcher is kind of an unexpected spot of need. Sort of unexpected, sort of not. Starting catcher is obviously taken care of. William Contreras is on the roster. Even though they declined his club option, he's still in arbitration. He still has 2 years of team control. So William Contreras is going to be your starting catcher for the Brewers next season. That much is not going to change. However, Danny Jansen is a free agent, so the Brewers' backup catcher spot is somewhat open. The Brewers do have top catching prospect Jefferson Caro, who's been at AAA this past year, been recovering from shoulder surgery. But he made it back this past year, put up some good numbers. He's still putting up some good numbers in the Venezuelan Winter League. So that's a possibility. I asked Matt Arnold specifically about Jefferson Caro and his readiness for the big league level next year. And he said that they feel really, really good about Jefferson Caro and his readiness at the position to potentially be that backup for William Contreras. But, however, we see the report here coming out of the winter meetings here in The Athletic that the Brewers are among several teams in the catching market that are making calls and texts to improve their depth at the position to try and get some more help there at catcher. So backup catcher might be a need, because as much as the Brewers may love Jefferson Caro, he has zero MLB experience, and they might want to give themselves some insurance at that spot just in case Caro struggles or has injury, or even Contreras has some struggles. As much as they love him, they want to get some extra depth. They only have two catchers on the 40-man roster at this moment, Contreras and Caro. So wanting to add a third certainly makes a ton of sense for the Brewers, as much as, again, Matt Arnold has said they feel really, really good about Caro heading into next year. I think you're going to get someone who has MLB experience, but also isn't necessarily going to prevent Caro from getting the backup job if Caro is indeed ready for it. But someone maybe you can stash in AAA, kind of similar to maybe a Jorge Alfaro type or Eric Haas type that they've gotten in recent years. I think that's very much a possibility. But that's what kind of brings me to my free agent target of the day here for the Milwaukee Brewers, and that is Mitch Garver. He's been a longtime catcher in the big leagues, primarily for the Minnesota Twins. Then he spent the past couple of years with the Rangers and then Seattle Mariners. He spent the last 2 years. Had decent-ish numbers, across his career, some up and down seasons. Offensively, he's had a couple of really good seasons mixed around, some tough seasons. He had a tough season in 2020. But really good season in 2019, 2021, 2023. He was well above league average catcher. The past 2 years, he's been a little bit below league average, negative WAR kind of player, only negative .1 WAR kind of player for the Seattle Mariners. And obviously with Cal Raleigh out there in Seattle, he's been kind of relegated to backup duty and DH duty as well. He's entering his age 35 season. So his days as a starting catcher are likely over. And given the Brewers have William Contreras, they don't need him to be a starting catcher. But he's someone who can be a very solid backup for you. And if he has to be pressed into duty, if something happens to William Contreras, and it's got to be something catastrophic to keep Contreras off the field. If something happens to him, then you'd feel somewhat comfortable with Garver being able to be out there and giving you somewhat regular reps at the catching position. So he's got those years of MLB experience, 86 OPS plus last year. He's got a career 11.2% walk rate, which is above league average, which is very good. So he's someone that kind of fits that mold a little bit for the Brewers, because the Brewers like guys who are able to draw their walks, and especially as backup catcher, that's going to be important for him. So that's something that could fit into what the Brewers are looking for in terms of the types of hitters they're looking to get. So if catcher is a spot the Brewers are looking to upgrade, get some depth alongside Caro and Contreras, then I think Mitch Garver is someone who would be at the top of the list for the Brewers' targets. Because some of the guys out there like JT Realmuto, you're not going to get him. He's going to be a starter somewhere. You're not going to be paying him the kind of money he's going to take, along with Contreras. And there are potentially some trade candidates out there as well. We can dig into those as the offseason goes along. We'll see if any rumors pop up with them. But there are a few names that we can look into there. But for me, at the moment, Mitch Garver is a name that's really sticking out to me as a candidate to perhaps be a target for the Brewers. This is not legit intel that the Brewers are interested in him, but we see the Athletic report that the Brewers are in the catching market. They're trying to improve their depth at the position, and Mitch Garver is one name that's out there on the free agent market that I think could be a very nice boost for this club as they're looking to find that depth. Me personally, I would like to see them roll with Caro as the backup. I also understand the desire to maybe get him some more time in AAA because he did miss, decent first part of the year, still recovering from that shoulder injury, and then he had a hamstring and just kind of kept getting delayed a little bit. Finally started to hit his stride toward the end of the year. He was with the team on the taxi squad, and the Brewers feel very good about his experience there and helping that lead him into next season. But also, with his shoulder, wanting to see it perhaps get stronger because he had an elite throwing arm before the injury. And now the throwing arm is not quite as elite. It's still good, but not as elite as it was before. So maybe trying to give him a little bit extra time where he can manage his reps down there in AAA and still get him some ABs. Because, again, when you're behind William Contreras, you're not going to be playing much. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're just not. So that could be a situation where, as much as you'd love to see Caro in the big leagues, that may be something where they wait a little bit longer, give him a little bit extra time to be ready, and call him up if he really needs to be pressed into duty, and get yourself a 1 year backup, 1 year stopgap backup to help fill in at that spot. Maybe you could see Eric Haas be brought back. I doubt you see Danny Jansen get brought back, but there's a potential need there at backup catcher if the Brewers really want to get more time for Jefferson Caro to get some ABs and get in games and stick him back down in AAA before calling him back up and hopefully being the catcher of the future for this organization. So that's one of the big needs to kind of talk about here. Now, also, as we're on Tuesday here and we're approaching the deadline for the 40-man roster decisions, one dark horse candidate that I saw MLB Pipeline write up for the Brewers to be added to the 40-man roster is Blake Holub, the player who was acquired in return for Mark Canha a couple of years ago. He's Rule 5 eligible, another reliever at AAA. Had some pretty decent results this past year. He's someone who could make an impact in a bullpen. I'm not sure if he sticks around all year long, but he's someone that the Brewers could look to protect. He's someone that could be targeted in a Rule 5 draft because it's a lot easier to stash relievers and keep them year round if they're able to have some success. So Holub could be added. Now again, the Brewers only have 2 spots on their 40-man roster at the moment. We'll see if they make any other moves to create more room. But again, this is not a strong class this year of players that are Rule 5 eligible that they need to protect. We talked on Monday's show about Brian Fitzpatrick being the name that I think the Brewers are going to look to add to their 40-man roster. I would talk about Matthew Wood potentially being a candidate as well. But Blake Holub is someone who was acquired from Detroit a couple of years ago. Again, decent numbers, nothing spectacular, nothing standout in terms of stuff. But he's been a pretty solid contributor there in AAA. Did really good this past year, and that could earn him a 40-man roster spot because there's going to be guys on that shuttle. There's going to be guys in camp competing for those bullpen spots. Holub could be one of them, so he's a name to maybe keep an eye on here for the Brewers as well as they're approaching the deadline for 40-man roster decisions to protect them from the Rule 5 draft. So that's one of the deadlines that the Brewers have here on Tuesday. But there's another crucial deadline that's going down today, and that is Brandon Woodruff's qualifying offer decision. Will he accept it or will he reject it? We haven't really seen any formal decisions on any qualifying offer, guys, at the moment, but that's going to be coming throughout the day here on Tuesday as players officially put in whether they're accepting or whether they are rejecting their qualifying offer. Brandon Woodruff is an interesting case because he's not necessarily a slam dunk rejection, but I still feel pretty good about Woodruff ultimately rejecting the qualifying offer from the Brewers and instead trying to seek a 2 or 3 year deal, because starting pitching is always at a premium out there on the open market. Every single team is looking for some. Every single team wants starting pitching. And if you're looking at this market for starters, and you don't want to overpay for one of the big guys that are out there, and you want to kind of get a frontline type of starter, but you don't necessarily want to pay the long-term, 5-6 year whatever plus deal, Brandon Woodruff is going to be a very attractive option because he's someone that you can look at a 2 to 3 year deal, and if he's healthy, he's someone that can give you ace-like production. He can give you that kind of that kind of production. You don't get that from a lot of guys. And Woodruff's going to be at a bit of a discount because he is coming off that shoulder surgery. Just came back this past year. Because of his age, you're only looking at probably a 2 to 3 year deal in free agency. But there are going to be teams who are willing to take that risk. Maybe he gets injured a little bit more as well because of that age, because of that injury history. So that is going to be a concern for some teams. But also, I think there's going to be a lot that are willing to take that risk because of the production that he can bring when healthy. And his cost is not going to be anywhere near as big as the other frontline starters that are out there. So if I'm Brandon Woodruff, I think Woodruff is going to ultimately reject this qualifying offer and instead seek a 2 to 3 year deal. Now, even with all that robust interest that could be out there, the Brewers have also said that they are focused on bringing him back. They want Woodruff back on this team. That's what Matt Arnold said at the GM meetings. So that's something to keep an eye on as well, because I don't think they're just going to give up and let Woodruff walk, kind of like they did with Willy Adames. Willy Adames, they just let walk. They knew they were not even going to come close to signing him. They didn't even really bother insulting him with an offer, because if they did give an offer on the table, it would have been insulting compared to what Adames was receiving. Woodruff, I think, is going to be a completely different case. I think the Brewers are going to be in the ballpark with everyone else. And I think being that close and given the history that Woodruff has, ultimately, I think there is a decent chance he does end up returning, but I don't think it'll be on the qualifying offer. I think he ultimately rejects it, but that decision is going to come down today. So we shall see how it plays out, and then we'll talk about the ultimate results about it, about what Woodruff decides on tomorrow's show, because we are with you every single day here on Brewers Daily. It's in the name. It is in the name. It is describing what we're doing every single day, Monday to Friday. We're here providing fresh Brewers content for you. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Brewers Daily. Get the notifications every single time we drop a new episode. Thank you for listening. I'm Dave Gasper, and we'll talk to you next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.